Today on the Hardcore Camping Gear channel, we are looking at the grabber style emergency blanket and how we can use something that I found in this box to extend the life, hopefully, maybe extend the life of the heavier survival blanket. I'm looking into this specifically because if you watched my last video, I wanted something that I could use as a quick 5-minute shelter to put up in case, when we're out camping, my wife and I go out hiking, somebody breaks an ankle, maybe she breaks an ankle and the weather's starting to turn, it's starting to rain. I can pitch a tarp or some type of a shelter setup and then, run back to camp and get help if I need to. So that led me to YouTube, of course, to find what other people were using, and many people are using these emergency type blankets. Now this is the grabber. This was one of the earlier models that were on the market. I got this, I don't know, years ago. And other companies have tried to improve on this, most notably recently Tarp. The problem that people have with this, and this is heavier, it's better than the old, just the Mylar sheets that were real thin. So this is a little bit thicker, and it's more like a tarp type material, and it's got the reflective stuff on the inside and bright orange for signaling on the outside. The problem with these that almost everybody has, if you do any research on these emergency survival blankets, is that they rip at the grommet right here. Everybody complains about these ripping, and the response from the company is usually along the lines of, well, it's not designed to be used for everyday use or regular use. It's just designed for emergency type scenarios. But me personally, it doesn't make me feel real confident in, using this thing if I were in an emergency scenario. So I found what's in this box. I'm going to show you here. These, I never even heard of these until about 2 to 3 months ago. Maybe you have, but these are called Tarp clips. And basically, it's got a screw on the back and this mouth, it opens up, and you have it bite down on the edge of your tarp, and then you can run your tie down, your guy out lines through this hole right here. So I'm going to test today whether or not I could use this with the emergency blanket instead of using the grommets, which inevitably are going to pull out and rip and render this mostly useless. I'm going to see if I can use these tarp clips with the emergency blanket so that it doesn't fail prematurely. Now, I got these on eBay. You can get them, I think, on Amazon. Supposedly, Harbor Freight carries them as well. I took a survival class with a guy who used to run the school for the mountain survival school for the Marines, the U.S. Marines. And we were talking during the class, and he was saying he bought the stuff from Chairman Mao's. And we all looked back and forth at each other, like, where? He says, Harbor Freight. Well, now everybody carries everything made from China, but beside the point. Anyways, at Harbor Freight, I bought these mostly because they struck me as something that's anatomically correct. But these are basically balls on elastic. Not those kind of balls, but basically you can use these as something of like a tie-out. And I like the idea, if it does hold up, so I'm kind of testing this too. I like the idea because these, you can get into action really quick. If they don't work, I'll just fold back on the regular paracord. So I'm going to set this up. I've also got some cheapy tent stakes from, also from Harbor Freight. The ball set is called Ball Stretch Cord Set, again from Harbor Freight. And it's just an idea to keep things really lightweight, be able to stick into a small 10-liter backpack when you go out on a quick hike, and have a 5-minute shelter solution. So both of us are down with chest colds right now, are feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm just going to do this here in the yard. I'm going to see if I can string it up to our railing and then use some artificial wind and water from a high-pressure hose to see how this does, specifically how the tarp clips do in holding the improvised emergency blanket shelter in place. Stick with me. All right, so I know I'm kind of embarrassing myself a little bit with this, and those of you who are bushcrafters are probably laughing at my configuration because y'all could set this up in a way that would probably make it look like the Hilton. And the fact that I'm in my backyard doing this, the humor is not lost on me. So I didn't think this would really work. So far I'm pretty impressed with these Tarp clamps. Definitely worth the money, and they weigh practically nothing. So it might be a good idea to stick into your pack, at least warrant further testing. What I'd like to do, because like I explained in my prior video, we live in an area where we're frequently going out in the high desert where there really aren't any trees typically. So the idea of being able to string up a ridgeline just doesn't necessarily work. If we happen to be up in Tahoe, which I may try and test at some point with this kind of setup, that would work. But a lot of times out in the high desert, or maybe you're in some kind of a, the plains where there just aren't any trees, my thought process was to use either hiking poles or maybe something like an elephant pole to stick in the pack and use that as something to tie off of to do kind of a plow point configuration. So far I'm really impressed with these Tarp clips. I'm also impressed with the ball stretch cord set. Although, to be honest, it didn't fail in this test, but I don't know that necessarily I'd want to stake my life or survival on those elastic shock cords. So, in that regard, it would probably make more sense to kind of master the double fisherman's loop that Dave Canterbury has in his Knot video on YouTube. You can check that out. So instead of relying on that elastic cordage, you just create a loop and then use that in the place of the ball stretch cord set. But it was a fun experience nonetheless. Hey, I'm Adam Katz for the Hardcore Camping Gear channel. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if this kind of stuff interests you. And we'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care.